Welcome to Sports Management Podcast, where you will hear interesting sports management professionals share their stories, experiences, and passion for the sports management industry. I am your host, Marcus Philipsson. Welcome to episode 102 of Sports Management Podcast, the third best sports business podcast in the world. Before I introduce today's guest, I want to ask you for a small favor. Please subscribe to this podcast and share it with a friend. It is the best way to grow this show, and the bigger the show gets, the better the guests get. Thank you. In other news, we are sponsored by our long and loyal partner InSport Education, the online business school for sports. The sports industry has never been more attractive to work in, and InSport Education offers courses and modules for all tastes. Click the link in the show notes to check out the complete course list, and if you use the code SPORTSManagementPodcast10, you'll get 10% off anything on their website. Now, today's guest is Mallory LePage, the Director of Global Partnerships at Milwaukee Bucks. Mallory has worked in gas station advertisements, fashion, and now with the Bucks in the NBA. Her journey is as inspiring as it is interesting. Get ready to learn if she's wearing her championship ring, the equality initiatives taken by the Bucks organization, the importance of Giannis Antetokounmpo on the team, bias training, why she said that she hates sales, and much more. As you can understand, we spoke about a lot in this episode, so get comfy, listen up, and enjoy. Here is Mallory LePage. Mallory LePage, welcome to Sports Management Podcast.
Thank you for having me.
It's my pleasure, and I'm really happy that you are on the podcast. And for those who might not know who you are the Director of Global Partnership at Milwaukee Bucks. So can you tell us a little bit about this very interesting role?
Absolutely. So my role with the Bucks is primarily to bring in new partnerships for the Bucks and everything that we own and operate. We're in a unique role where the Bucks oversee our properties, our G League team, our gaming team, and then of course the crown jewel Milwaukee Bucks. So it's a very exciting time to be a part of the organization.
I'm sure it is. And you also have some other responsibilities within Bucks. You are the Vice President of Empowerment for the Diversity Leadership Council. And you are peer-nominated co-chair of Milwaukee Bucks ERG, the Employee Resource Group. So can you talk also a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm fortunate enough that we have an organization that really fosters diversity, equity, and inclusion. So during the pandemic, we were motivated to start these employee resource groups, which I was peer nominated into the women's group. Last season, I rolled off of that leadership role as a part of WIN, which is the Women's Initiative Network, and then rolled onto our Diversity Leadership Council. So they work hand in hand to ensure that everyone in the organization feels represented. My role now with the Diversity Leadership Council as the empowerment pillar and vice president of empowerment, and now I oversee all the ERGs. So I have the wonderful pleasure of working with 5 different ERGs and continuing to build more so that our workforce represents our city and our fan base and everyone that should feel as though they have a place in sports.
That's great. And as we know, both of us, women are still a minority in the sports business, and it's a very male-dominated field. So I think that's great that the Bucks are taking this initiative. And I mean, you are doing this, but also you are involved with the WIN, Women's Initiative Network. And I know that the Bucks organization generally is doing a lot for the equality as well. So it must feel good to be in such an organization that's doing this type of efforts.
It sure does. It sure does. And to let children see what they can become, not only in these represented areas, but just in sports in general. I didn't know roles like mine existed growing up. And so to see women and anyone else in these roles that might not look like your typical employee, so to say, it's nice to see that. And it's nice to share that with children around the world.
Yeah, so the Bucks organization have said that the goal is to hire a diverse workforce that look like their fans. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's obviously great, but how do you accomplish that?
That's a great question, especially when you have a global fan base, right? So our team has done an excellent job at bringing in talent from around the world, from different leagues, from different teams, from out of sports. I came from out of sports, so it's not just that standard trajectory of bringing people in that have been at maybe different teams, but having diverse mindset, bring diverse ideas, and we truly believe that here. So more engagement with different types of folks that are in different types of industries have been able to allow us to build a really diverse and unique workforce, which I'm very grateful for.
Yeah, and I think that especially Gen Z and the younger workforce that starts out now, they value these type of initiatives from companies. It's not only, your working hours and your salary, it's also what do they do for diversity, what do they do for other CSR initiatives and so on.
Absolutely. That's a really good point and you hear it a lot. We have so many folks in, whether it's our HR department or within our DLC or in our ERGs, and we all talk about how important that is to have more to offer and have more engagement, but it really matters. And that's really what these new generations are looking for when they're looking for a career path. It's beyond just your job and your skills and all of those things. It's so much more now that you're able to contribute to your organization.
So you mentioned that you didn't come from sports initially. And I mean, your career has varied a lot. You have worked from, gas station sales up until now, director of a global partnership for an NBA club. So can you give us, your story and how you ended up here?
Yeah, it's so funny. I used to be scared to talk about my career and some of the jobs that I had. I graduated college in 2009 from Michigan State University, when the economy in the United States was pretty shaky. We were coming out of a recession, or maybe still in the middle of one, coming from the Detroit area. The world was so impacted by the auto industry. And so it was pretty bleak for new graduates. So, and probably very similar to some of the new graduates that graduated during the pandemic. So it was hard to always find the best career path. I knew I wanted to work in sports, but I didn't know how to get there. And so I had some really amazing starts to my career. I moved to Los Angeles. I had an incredible career start at an out-of-home company that really helped me understand the world of media sales and what it meant to build relationships and to be in sales. And then I went through a couple bumps, I guess you could say, but not things that were even in my control. One company sold, another company sold. And I was really proud, and I just wanted to make sure that I was taking care of myself. I didn't want to ask anyone for help. So I took some leaps of faith. I sold gas station radio. It's not even TV, radio, speeder of the mind. But looking back on it, it was the best job I could have had because it helped me sell the hardest possible thing in the world that you could probably sell. It was pretty rough, but the education and the training from it was incredible. Like this team that they built there really helped all of us as sellers create, like it was a vigorous 3-day training of how to sell this, what to do, telling a story. And that's when I started to understand that sales was really storytelling, as ironic as it is in a career where I didn't think I was ever going to get to where I wanted to be, but to be able to understand that everything is about how you present it and what you're presenting. So that was a moment where I even didn't tell a lot of people what I was doing, collecting a paycheck and trying to figure out what was next. And I'm just really fortunate to be in sales. So it's not always what it might be and the path that you might think, but it'll get you there. And then I knew, and quite frankly, my now leader and my boss knew that if I could sell that, of course you can sell NBA basketball. Of course you can sell championship level basketball. So that was a big learning lesson for me.
I'm sure. And speaking about learning lessons, so you said now gas station sales, you also worked in fashion.
Yep.
And now in sports. So
yes.
What do you feel are some of the learnings that you've taken from your previous experiences that you can implement now in your current role?
Oh my gosh, that sometimes the hardest times actually teach you the most, and to stay present in those moments. So kind of just take everything for what it's worth and try to understand your way out of a problem and what a solution might be. Like I said, I've had really amazing leaders, really amazing career paths, really amazing jobs. So it's really trying to learn from everyone around you and what you're doing, because whatever that means, you'll take all of that insight to wherever you're going. And the more unique you are, the more valuable you are. So it even goes back to that diversity piece. So if you just kind of are ticking off the boxes and doing everything that you think you're supposed to do to get there and taking the easy route, sometimes the harder route makes you a better person and makes you a better employee.
Yeah, for sure. I think so too. I listened to, when I did research for this episode, I listened to another episode from the Leadership is Female podcast. So shout out to Emily Jensen, who has also been on this podcast, which I'm very happy about. In there, you said that you hate sales. But what do you mean? But I guess you don't mean that literally. So what do you mean when you say that?
Well, and I think it has sales has such a negative connotation, right? If you're talking about ticket sales, sponsorship sales, whatever, even if you're reaching out to somebody, to feel like you're being pitched and being sold something, regardless of what it is, has negative connotation. I think that's why you're hearing so much of the word partnership, membership, those types of things come into play now. And I love relationships and learning about people. It's something that I've always had interest in, is just learning people's stories and who they are and how they've got there, probably much like you. And so that's all sales really is. So when I say I hate sales, I hate the stereotype that it's become and that the career has received. It's not an easy job by any means, but because it's not easy and because it's so much harder, it's that much more rewarding.
So your current role is Director of Global Partnerships, and that going in again. So, I mean, obviously it might be, or I say obviously, but I assume it's much more fun now to sell, basketball than it was to sell radios at the gas station. But I mean, when you are selling now, are you mostly emphasizing on the team performance, or also all the other great things we did from the organizational side, that it's so much more than only on the pitch? But how do you, make your sale? How do you convince these people?
That's a great question. And I think anyone in my role at any team would ask themselves the same thing every day, that it's really hard to separate how they're performing on the floor compared to what you're doing off the floor, right? It's hard to get super motivated after you lose in the playoffs. It's easier to get motivated when you win in the playoffs or win a championship, but you have to be able to separate it to a degree. Of course, it's a part of the piece of the pie that you're presenting to a partner. However, there's so much that we're doing. And I think that you're starting to see that with sports and entertainment, that there's so much more than just one team. There's so much that goes into it, right? So we have our G League team, we have a championship gaming team, we have a beautiful, beautiful property. And then, of course, we have our brand and how much it's exploded over the last 5 years and the history of the brand for the last 50 plus years. So there's so much that goes into it. It is really difficult to not think about how you might have performed the night before. And oh my gosh, but I think one thing that everyone should think of is it's not always about you and what you're doing. And what I tell people all the time is take a step away from it. Even if you lost to the 76ers on a Thursday night, that Friday morning, somebody in Sweden or Germany or Australia or even California probably wasn't really thinking about that. They think about the reputation of what your brand might be, or maybe what you can tell them about your brand. So it's hard to separate it, but if you're able to be a good seller and tell that story, it won't matter at the end of the day because you have so much more to provide. At least I have that fortunate opportunity to be able to tell a bigger story because the Bucks is such a massive global brand.
I understand it's difficult to separate the on-pitch performance with the other aspects, but it helps, I assume, when it's going well. And you were the NBA champions in 2021, which is pretty recent. Taking that experience, how was that like?
It was surreal. I mean, even this season, we had the best record in the NBA. We clinched playoffs as the first team, but it's really hard to win a championship. And I think I'm really glad that we won when we did, because my second year with the Bucks, we made it to Eastern Conference Finals. We were up 2 games against the Toronto Raptors, and then we ended up losing to them. And I think at that time, looking back, if we would have won the championship that year, I don't think I would have been able to appreciate it as much as I did in 2021, especially coming out of the pandemic and how special it was that we went from not one fan in the arena to just essential staff that same season, to then we had 18%. So you just had a couple pods of people sitting around the arena very awkwardly watching a basketball game in a private setting, to then all of a sudden it's 50%. And, you can start to feel the momentum building up coming out of such a weird time in the world and in live entertainment and sports, to then almost overnight, it was 100% back in the arena. And it was just that part of it was surreal and almost a foreign feeling. And then to be able to win it was very surreal, because I think every series it was like we were down, or apart from the first round, we were down or we weren't winning. And then Giannis bent his knee in half and was fine. And just a lot of really a lot of almost impossible things and miracles that happened to bring that together and to be able to bring a championship to the city was really special. Even I'll never forget the night that we won. Even I sometimes think about it in the same vein that the night that we lost a couple months ago, that it almost doesn't feel real. And you don't even know what to do with your body or what to do, or, you're still in a professional environment and you still have partners there with you or guests that are with you. And it's like, well, okay, what do we do now? So it was an incredible experience. And I think we're ready to win another one. Now we know what to do and how to do it. And in a not crazy pandemic year where we can have fans the whole time and things can feel a little bit normal. So we're ready for another one.
I'm glad to hear it. And this type of winning mentality, I mean, we speak a lot about that, of course, for the athlete, but is that something that also you feel in the front office and, in the office, that like now you are a winning team and that everyone has contributed to this victory?
Absolutely. That's a really great question. And it's something that we remind ourselves of because, like I said before, it's so easy to get caught up in everything that's Bucks, everything that's happening in Milwaukee, everything that we did somewhere else. At the end of the day, winning in 2021 is, we're just really a year or so removed from it. We are still one of the best sports entertainment companies in the world, and we strive to be that. And we have very, very high standards across the board of the type of partners that we bring on, the stories that we want to tell, the platforms that we want to build, whether it's around DE&I or sustainability or just our impact on society. So we do have very high standards. And I'm so fortunate I've only been here for 6 years, which can seem like a lot, but in the grand scheme of the organization, the evolution that we've seen has been outstanding. And to be able to keep it in Milwaukee is really special.
I'm sure. And you mentioned previously Giannis. So obviously a superstar, Giannis, the Greek freak, Antetokounmpo on the team. What has he meant for the Bucks?
The impact of Giannis, I think, is bigger than anyone can really imagine. I'm very spoiled because this is the only NBA team I've ever worked for. It's all I've ever known. And I've seen his stardom just skyrocket in the last 6 years. But when you look at the impact that he's had, I mean, even the MVP candidates for this year and for the last couple of years have largely been international players. So I think Giannis has really helped expand that global community of basketball and leverage sport to unite people from Greece to Nigeria, his home countries, to the Bucks playing in Paris, in Abu Dhabi. His impact on basketball has been tremendous. And what he's been able to bring the Bucks in Milwaukee is nothing short of amazing.
Yeah, and also he embodies so many things that we talked about earlier for the Bucks organization with diversity. And when you see his press conferences, he's this great person and very, down to earth.
Yeah.
Like you can think that, after everything that he has accomplished, he's such a genuine person. And since he also represents the club and the Bucks, must be so important for the brand as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And you bring up a good point because you see different teams react different ways, right? And we, of course, have had different iterations of our team and of our players. But when you look at the Bucks, and I think I've heard it on some other sports podcasts from NBA players talk about how they know that the Bucks mean business and they win games and then they walk off the court and they get back to practice. There's no crazy celebrations. We're expected to win both on and off the court, but especially on the court. And so I think when the expectation is so high, especially with one of the best players in the world like Giannis, he's really raised the bar for our organization. And so everyone follows suit.
After winning the championship, as we spoke about before, you get the championship ring, right?
Yep.
What's the deal with that? Do you go around with that, wearing that on every day, or is it special occasions, or how do you keep it somewhere safe?
It's definitely special occasions, but I will say the Bucks did an amazing job. So the players in the basketball operations and ownership got their ring for ring night, which was the opening game of the 21-22 season. And so then the employees had a ring ceremony too, which was really, really special. And it was just a very classy, everybody was off, right? So it's very rare in sports, even the parade day, right? So you still have jobs to do. You still have so much to do. So it's very rare that the team actually all gets to sit down in one place because somebody's always working. And I would imagine there are still people in behind the scenes helping us during that day as well. But it was really nice to be able to sit down and have a moment to look around at everyone that helped put into those moments, especially coming out of such a crazy year where we hadn't seen a lot of each other for months on end because of the lockdowns and because of the pandemic. So we did a really nice ring ceremony. Every employee received theirs, which were very similar to the player rings, not as big, not as cool, not as expensive. But the organization did give us all rings, and we had our ceremony, and I bring it out for special occasions to show families, sometimes for big meetings. But no, it's very heavy and I don't wear it a lot. And actually that goes across the board. A lot of people will bring it out for special occasions or big meetings, but everybody kind of just has it and we're ready for another one.
I understand that. Bouncing back to what we spoke about a little bit earlier with the diversity piece, you have also done some bias training.
Yeah.
Can you talk about first what that is and then what's the importance of that?
Yeah, absolutely. So in general, gender bias is something that so many of us don't think about, and we'll just talk about it directly in terms of women in sports. So there's a lot of times where people will be surprised to see a woman on the other side of the call, or, oh, I didn't realize you liked basketball. Did you ever play basketball? Why do you work in sports? Or questions that we don't think are harmful or that we don't think might be biased, but they are. And honestly, even for me, when we started doing a lot of D&I initiatives across the board with the Bucks, there were things that I learned that maybe even I was giving bias to myself and not giving myself enough credit. So it's just a part of the Bucks' larger initiatives and how we educate each other and have the ability to be empathetic to ourselves and to others, and then just learn and better ourselves across the board. And so we do these types of things all the time, and they're wonderful because it just helps us all be better employees and better people.
But is it only gender, or is it because I heard also like parenting bias? Like there are different type of biases.
Yes, actually, that's great, and I'm glad you brought that up, especially for working parents, working moms, dads in any sports organization. I don't have children. I don't know how they do it. It seems impossible to none because we do work really long hours. I mean, game days can be a grueling 15 hours and we love to do it and it's exciting. But imagine having a little one at home and understanding maybe that parent comes in late, maybe they leave early, maybe that they're flexible in their schedules quite a bit based on that so that they can have FaceTime with their children. So it's really important to just understand that everyone's situation is unique, especially in live sports and entertainment. There's never really a perfect balance when it comes to work life. It's almost impossible when you're working in sports because of how demanding it is and just how much time away. And so to just give everyone a little bit of grace and be able to support one another. So as soon as we do these, everyone becomes more aware and it becomes a better workplace.
Is that an occurring thing within the Bucks that you do this type of trainings?
Oh yeah. Yep. And a lot of it comes from either if it's the DLC, the Diversity Leadership Council, or the more individual ERGs that we've added, the more that we understand that we have unique workforces, unique employees. And so it's how can we just keep educating each other, learning about holidays, learning about different traditions, things like that. So just understanding that everyone's unique and we absolutely love that here.
That's great.
Yeah.
This podcast is available in video and audio. So for those who are watching us right now, behind you, it says Bucks in 6.
Yes.
What's the story behind that?
Yeah, so it's kind of a rally cry for the city, which came to fruition for our championship, which was kind of crazy. But the Bucks in 6 came from Bucks legend Brandon Jennings when he encouraged the locker room to win a series in 6 during his playing time at the Bucks. And it quickly kind of caught on as a chant and a rally cry throughout the city. You'll hear it often during the playoffs to win the series in 6. Never did. I don't think anyone would have thought that we would have won the championship, much less any of the series leading into the championship in 6 games. And Brandon Jennings was courtside. I almost thought he was going to run onto the court at some point. And so everything just came together. So it was really a serendipitous moment for the city. And so you'll even see it on the championship rings. It says Bucks.
Ah, that's great.
Yeah.
And I mean, everyone loves come from behind victory. It was you said before also that this was like, it was better to win it in 2021 than when you were more of a favorite.
Absolutely. And I even think about, so we were favorites the year the world shut down. It's like we like to call it. Yeah. We were favorites. That was our most winning season. We went into the bubble. We all were feeling great. The bubble didn't work out really well for us or a lot of teams. So that was the year that we thought, oh, this will be great. In hindsight, very glad we didn't win it in the bubble because we wouldn't have had a parade. Our fans wouldn't have been there. So coming out of all of that and really having to like grind and work hard and just defeat all the odds, which is actually really representative of the city of Milwaukee. It's representative of the fans. It's representative of the team and the players and their attitude. So everything kind of worked out in the most perfect way.
Some short questions, rapid questions, whatever you want to call them. So do you have a favorite quote?
I have a lot of favorite quotes, but I think the one that I try to live by every day is how you do anything is how you do everything, which I learned from one of my favorite Peloton instructors as I was battling up the treadmill, trying to run up a hill probably, or do one more burpee. But it's really true. It's really how you represent yourself is how you do everything. And your soul knows when you're cheating, like your character knows if you're cutting corners. And so if you bring your best self, which is hard to do, but when you show up 100% of the time and you're present, that's really important.
And I'm sure you live by this because I know that you are very big on prep, and also for this interview, you're preparing a lot, and I'm sure you do that in your work as well. So where does the importance of preparation come in for you?
It's so funny. I don't know where I necessarily picked it up. It was probably just really good leaders that I've had along the way. But something I learned somewhere or not was anything that you're working on or working towards, give yourself at least three times the amount of duration of what you're doing. So if you're working on a pitch that might take an hour or so, at least 3 hours of preparation. And that doesn't even account for maybe the initial outreach, the research that you put into it, the ideation with your team, but really how you're going to have conversations and how you're going to answer questions, pitch an idea, talk about something, think about the hard questions, the challenges, those things. I mean, maybe I learned it in gas station radio. I don't know. But the prep is really, really important because you have to think about all the objectives and what might come your way to be most prepared. Obviously, there's no way you're going to be able to predict everything, but the more you prepare, the better the outcome will be.
And you feel also that even if things don't go as planned, it's better to be prepared and then you're able to adjust as you go.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's just like any sport, right? You have to practice, you have to prepare. And the more that you do that, the more that everything will come easier, right? The more that you practice your story, everything that you need to talk about on a daily basis, especially in a sales role where you need to prepare what your story might be, what your conversation might be. Of course, there's pivots and conversations and how you plug and play things, but preparation is so important. And I think it's almost undervalued and underrated a little bit, right? People talk so much about the pitch, and we've, as a society, have really thought about how we glorify these like crazy ideas and pitches and from television to movies. And it's really like, well, all the preparation that went into that is so important, and it takes a village.
Yeah, for sure. And I can use with this podcast, I've done different strategies. At some point, I was thinking that I don't want to do too much research because then if you tell me something that I didn't know, maybe then you get a genuine response. But I figured out that the more the better, actually. And then how, if there is something that interests you, you ask about it, and then it might lead you somewhere else anyway. But instead of going in with less research,
right,
it's always better to come prepared, I feel.
Yeah, and people become honest and genuine and authentic in their responses, and so more things can come up, and it's just really cool to hear what people have to say.
Yeah, definitely. And you said that you might have picked this up from some great leader you have had in the past, and now you are a leader. So how would you describe your leadership style?
Oh my gosh, it's crazy to think that I've gotten to that point in my career because everything was just a flash, right? Like you look to what you want to aspire, but and something else I've heard recently is like, stop thinking about where you want to be, because where you want to be is where you are each time, and just be in that moment. But with that being said, I've had some really, really good leaders, and I've had some really bad leaders. But one of my really good leaders told me once when I was going through kind of a rough patch with a leader that wasn't the best, might not have had a lot of training, or probably wasn't, now looking back, probably wasn't set up to be in that situation, which happens often. Sometimes people are put in situations they're not ready for. So I reached out to a really good leader at the time just to get some advice. And they told me, sometimes you learn more from the worst situations than you do the best. You learn what you want to do, what not to do, and you're able to pick and pull from all of those situations. So my leadership style is ever changing, but I really try to lead by example. I understand that's not always possible, but I also have really good employees around me. So I think the Bucks have set us up for a good situation where the leadership isn't so hard because we have really talented, unique individuals where we really just want people to shine and be themselves. Now, of course, there's hard skills that come into play, but I really try to, bring people in, rally them and let them see my style and then let them figure out their own style because they have to be themselves.
Mm. I spoke in an earlier episode with Michael Eade, and he was talking a lot about influential leadership.
I love that.
Leading by example and being the one in the front and more of that type of inspiring.
Yeah, you don't want robots, right? You want people to understand how to be themselves and shine. Sometimes I see young emerging leaders clam up in high pressure moments or moments where they might feel like they have to be perfect. Sometimes just like relax and be yourself brings out the best qualities, especially if, hey, you're already, you were hired by the Bucks. You were put in this role because we see so much in you and so much talent and opportunity. Just relax and be who you are, because who you are is probably exactly who we want you to be in these moments. Be authentic, be happy, be contagious with your energy. So those types of things that you have to empower people and not put so much pressure that they break down.
What about mentorship? Is that something that you have had in your career? And maybe now you are a mentor? I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's interesting when you think about the new generations, like mentorship, I think has become so deliberate where it's like, I want to look for a mentor, where a lot of my mentors have been mentors in my life and I didn't even realize it. Some of my first leaders that I've had are friends that were leaders or friends that were just influential leaders in a way, right? That maybe I never worked for or worked with, but have helped me navigate the world of business or how to negotiate a salary or how to negotiate a partnership or anything like that. And family too, right? My sister has been in business for 15, 20 years now, and she's really helped me lead the way on different things. And she manages a team. I think her biggest team has been 30 people. And so there's been people in my life that have given me so many opportunities to learn from them without a formal mentorship role. But it's definitely something that I'm looking forward to growing as the years come.
Do you think that has been important to you, that you come from, has that been encouraged in your family with the business and working hard and these things?
Absolutely, without a doubt. I come from a family that has worked really, really hard, which is probably why I ended up in gas station radio, because I wanted to make them proud. I didn't want to ask for anything. I wanted to show my family that I could get by. I could figure it out. Just like they did. Nothing was ever handed to my parents. They worked super, super hard to get where they were, worked really long hours, traveled a lot, made sure that we always had the best childhood. And that's how our family's always been. And I think having that type of leadership, especially strong women, has made it easier for me to not even think about how I have to do it. It's just, you have to do it. That's what you have to do. You have to be strong, independent, and that's where your success will come from.
And yeah, we talked about that the sports industry in particular is male dominated. And I think now you're a great role model for up and coming women in the industry. So what would be your best advice for a young woman who wants to enter the sports industry?
Oh, that's a great question. I think you can start anywhere. So for me, I thought like there was no way I could ever get into sports, right? It was, and I will say traditionally it was a lot harder. I think maybe it's still hard now, but you can start anywhere. You don't have to go the traditional route, but get all the experience that you can and learn from whatever it is that you want, learn from industries. I think now it's actually more valuable. And I think teams look at people outside of sports because they have so much different experience. Maybe you worked on a brand side, maybe you worked at an agency, maybe you've worked in a hospital, who knows? Whatever it might be, your journey will help tell your story. And I think that you should never let it deter you or think it's too late, right? I mean, I jumped in to sports when I had already had about 10 years experience, and it was a lot to learn because when you jump into a sports team, there's a lot to understand about the just mechanism of what builds a team and how it all comes together and how it works and how to get inside the arena with your credentials. The smallest things where once you're in it, it's all second nature and you really learn the business. But I've really enjoyed learning the business of sports and the business of basketball. And we have the ability to do that at the Bucks and really kind of absorb all of the different entities that we own and operate.
I feel that sometimes sports jobs can get a little bit bad rap, that it's, long hours. It's not Monday, Friday, 9 to 5. It's low pay in the beginning. So maybe some people shy away from the sports industry because of that.
Yeah.
Are you on the same page with me on that?
I think people do shy away because, and even in the beginning, I remember people saying, well, you have to go to a lot of games. It's going to be a lot of time, a lot of nights. And it is, it's hard work for sure, but there's always a trade-off. I mean, in my job before this, I traveled a lot. There was months I wasn't at home for weeks on end. This is one of the most exciting, most exhilarating jobs I've ever had. And I can't imagine a career that takes me outside of sports now. I think you have to be passionate about it too, though. I think that being passionate about it really helps, and it helps in my role. You can feel it, I think, when I'm talking to potential partners or new partners or existing partners, or people that we want to bring into the organization and we want to hire. Now, granted, I've worked for one of the best teams in sports and had that pleasure, but it is so exciting. There's nothing like a game day when you walk out onto the floor, the team's about to start, tip-off's about to happen, the lights go out, there's fireworks, there's exciting videos, noise. There's nothing like that feeling, like the hair stand up on your arm every time, and it never gets old.
I couldn't agree with you more. Everyone who has been to a live sporting event knows that that's one of the best feelings for sure.
Yep. And I get to do it at least 41 times a year.
That's a luxury. Has there been any bumps on the road in your career?
Oh my gosh, there's been so many bumps. There's been a lot. Like I said, I've lost jobs for different reasons. I've had weird jobs for different reasons, but I don't regret a single day of it because every single piece has helped me get to where I am. It's really hard to remember that in the moment when you might have just lost your job, or people that might have graduated during a recession, or you're seeing it now. A lot of companies are scaling back and laying people off. It doesn't mean that you're not talented. It doesn't mean that you're not valued. It just means that there's another opportunity out there that's getting you closer to where you need to be. So never let those bumps deter you in life. That's what I always tell people. It's like, just really take things for what they are and understand that it's putting you towards the journey of exactly where you need to be.
I like that. Approaching the end here, is there something I haven't asked you yet that you want to bring up?
I'm glad we talked about preparation because I think that's really important. I think understanding adversity is really important. I think putting yourself in a culture that reflects who you are is really important. So if you're somebody that's looking for a new career path, make sure to interview your interviewer too. Make sure to ask those questions of like, why is this role open? What do you offer your employees? Because I love going to work every day. I love getting up. I love my team. I love our organization. And so to be able to be in a situation where you have that luxury is really important. But I also think be a sponge is something I always tell people, whether it's with your friends, your family, in business, in conversations like this, try to learn as much as you can about people and lean on your peers to understand how they got to places, what they might know, what you can learn about anyone, anything, anywhere will make you more knowledgeable and be able to make you a more diverse individual. And that's so important to be able to understand how to relate with people, as I'm sure you know. But that's especially if you're looking for a career in sales. All it is relationships and having conversations and being able to tell stories, hear about people, listen to stories. So that's my biggest piece of advice.
Yeah, I like that a lot. And of course, this podcast has, opened the door for me for so many great conversations like this one. And, I learned from every single one. I've had more than 100, episodes now. So,
Congrats.
So I thank you. So, I couldn't agree with you more there. And also, talking about advice for up and coming people in the industry, I think there's so much information to be gained now, also from, podcast, books, newsletters, and also, as you said, like reaching out. There are you are in WIN, for example, there are different networks where you can reach out, learn from other people. So I think that's great advice.
Thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure. Thank you for reaching out to me, for having me here, for elevating women. I know you've had some pretty awesome women on this podcast, but just to be able to show everyone that there's so much more in sports and entertainment that meets the eye.
Yeah, definitely. So before I let you go, I always end the episodes with the same question. And it is that if you could pick the next guest for this podcast, who do you think that I should talk to?
I think that you should talk to Ashley Oaks from the Sacramento Kings. Everybody in the world knows who the Sacramento Kings are. Their journey has been a lot like the Bucks, to be able to be on this rise and have all their attention on them. But they're doing really, really great things over there. And she does the same job that I do. Her and I have developed a relationship and built a networking group together across the NBA, but she's an incredible individual and she's doing such an awesome job there that the world needs to hear from her and her journey and how she got to where she is and how hard she hustles to sell Kings basketball in Sacramento when you have the Golden State Warriors in your backyard and you're on the rise. So I would highly recommend having Ashley here.
Ashley would be a fantastic guest.
Yeah.
So I hope I can make that happen. And I'm glad to see that there are so many women in the executive positions in NBA. I know also at the Kings, it's Martina Colocotroni is also working there.
Mm-hmm.
So very excited for everything that we have talked about with the diversity. And this is a place for everyone. The sports industry should mirror the society at large.
Absolutely. I love that. Thank you so much.
Mallory LePage, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the Sports Management Podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening to the Sports Management Podcast. Please hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out on any upcoming episodes. Also, feel free to leave a comment about what you thought about this episode. If you want to get in contact with me, send an email to sportsmpodcast@gmail.com or hit me up on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram @SportsMPodcast.